The movie opens with an elderly woman praying at the grave of a wealthy man. She seems more connected to his grave than to her own family, and even says she hopes to be buried in a similar grand plot when she dies. The scene then moves to a family visiting the graves of their ancestors. The focus shifts to M, a young man who is more interested in playing video games than helping his family. When they ask him to pitch in, he responds lazily, saying that at least he showed up, unlike his Uncle Khan's family, who didn't come at all. His grandmother, upset by his attitude, scolds him for being disrespectful and insists that he help place flower petals on the graves. M, uninterested, tosses the petals carelessly, angering his grandmother. Shortly after, she loses her balance and falls, causing her to be taken to the hospital. While his mother stays with his grandmother at the hospital, M stays home, pretending to be too busy with work while continuing to play video games. When M's mother returns home, she confronts him about his gaming habit and reminds him of promises he made, such as becoming a successful gamer, buying his own apartment, and helping with the household bills. M brushes off her concerns, telling her she's making him feel worse, and quickly returns to his games. Things take a more serious turn when M's mother shares that his grandmother has cancer and may not have long to live. Despite the news, M shows no real emotion. His main concern is the money he needs to visit his grandmother. After some pushing, M finally visits her, but his attitude is still selfish. During the visit, his grandmother seems surprised by his sudden appearance and asks if there's a reason for his visit. M, trying to act caring, tells her it's because the family is thoughtful. He brings her noodles as a gesture of love, but she points out she doesn't eat them. Instead, she asks M to buy her favorite fried fish from a specific shop. When M goes to get the fish, he finds a long line and, feeling impatient, buys it from a different shop. However, when he gives it to his grandmother, she immediately notices that it's from the wrong shop and refuses to eat it because it's too oily. M has to go back to the original shop and wait in line again. When he finally returns with the correct fish, he finds out that his grandmother has already eaten and doesn't need it anymore. Later, Grandma asks M to boil water for her god, but it must be done in a pressure cooker. M, not paying attention, uses a microwave instead. When Grandma notices there's no whistle sound from the pressure cooker, M admits his mistake, which only makes her more upset. She yells at him, saying if he's not going to do things properly, he shouldn't bother doing them at all. Grandma throws M out of the house, slamming the door, even though he promises to do it right next time. She tells him not to come back because he never does anything the right way. Despite this harsh rejection, M feels strangely relieved, as if a weight has been lifted off his shoulders. M then goes to see his friend Millie, who is dressed as a nurse. Confused, M asks if she's now working as a nurse, but Millie explains that she's just dressing up for her online fans. Wearing the nurse costume helps her get more viewers. M remembered how Millie had taken care of her grandfather before he passed away. She had also inherited his property, which made M think about how older people could sometimes have a bad smell. Millie agreed, but she added that after a while, you stop noticing it. She suggested that if M could handle these small discomforts, he might be able to develop a stronger connection with his grandmother. M was moved by her advice and decided to stay with his grandmother for a few days to help her. He went to the mall where his mother worked and told her about his plan. His mother was surprised but supportive, and she gave him a spare key to his grandmother's house. When M arrived at his grandmother's house and used the key to enter, she was surprised to see him again. She became suspicious and asked why he suddenly wanted to visit. Sensing her doubt, M explained that his grandmother had cancer, and that his mother and uncle hadn't wanted her to know. He tried to make it sound less serious, saying that doctors aren't always right, using Auntie Emma as an example of someone who lived longer than the doctors had predicted. M reminded his grandmother of how she had taken care of him when he was young, and now he wanted to do the same for her. His honest words softened her suspicion, and she agreed to let him stay. The next morning, M's alarm went off at 5 a.m., but he overslept. When he finally woke up, he rushed to the railway station where his grandmother sold kanji. He asked why she hadn't woken him up, and she sarcastically replied that she wasn't a clock. After a long day at the train station, his grandmother visited a friend and shared that she had cancer. Interestingly, her friend also had cancer, but instead of showing much sympathy, she joked that at least Grandma had her grandson to help, while she had to do everything by herself. Later, M and his grandmother went to the bank. She asked him to wait outside because she didn't want him to see her bank details. The next morning, M woke up to find his mother had arrived and Grandma was all dressed up. Confused, M asked where she was going so early. His mother explained that Grandma had other family members who visited her every Sunday. Soon after, Uncle Can and his family arrived, and they all spent the day together. During the visit, Uncle Can asked Grandma how she was doing. Grandma directly told them that she knew about her cancer and that there was no point in hiding it, as M had already told her. The family was shocked and angry at M for telling her the truth, but he defended himself, saying that Grandma deserved to know what was happening with her own body. The mood lightened as Grandma's 3 children promised to take good care of her. M's mother, in particular, had been working the night shift at the mall so she could be free during the day to take Grandma to her cancer treatments. M asked his mother if she expected anything in return for all that she was doing, but she brushed it off, saying that her mother was sick and she needed to take care of her. One day, M's mother took Grandma to the swimming pool to help her exercise, but Grandma felt guilty for making her daughter miss work. She begged her not to come back to the pool if it was too much trouble. M quickly stepped in and told Grandma it wasn't a problem. His mother had switched to night shifts so she could help during the day. Grandma realized how much her daughter was sacrificing and became upset. She told her daughter that she was making her life harder, just like when she quit school to help the family. Feeling emotional, Grandma went to the bathroom to cry quietly. Seeing how this was affecting both his mother and his grandmother, M told his mother that this situation was making Grandma's health worse. He insisted that she should rest, and he would take Grandma to her cancer treatments instead. M's mother, exhausted from working all night and taking care of Grandma during the day, finally agreed. The next day, M took Grandma to the hospital for her treatment, and his friend Millie drove them there. After the treatment, M helped Grandma up the stairs to her bedroom, as her room was on the first floor and she had trouble moving around. While helping Grandma, she remembered fondly how M used to sleep between her and his grandfather when he was a child, because he was afraid of ghosts. M brushed it off, saying he wasn't afraid anymore. That night, M had a dream where his parents came to take him away, leaving him feeling unsettled. He woke up and found Grandma praying, and she told him that she wouldn't be around much longer. M gently reassured her, telling her that nothing would happen to her anytime soon, and that she still had plenty of time. He set up a mosquito net for her, a small act of care that showed his growing sense of responsibility and love for his grandmother. The next morning, Grandma had a slight fever, but insisted on cooking. M convinced her to rest and gently cleaned her with a warm cloth. Later, M met Millie, who jokingly asked where he ranked on his grandmother's favorite list. Millie guessed Uncle C or Uncle Zion might be number 1. M thought he might be higher than his mom. Millie teased that the third favorite gets nothing, but M smiled, saying his grandmother didn't say much, but he could tell how she felt. She often told other relatives how well M cared for her. M then took Grandma to visit her wealthy Uncle Cain, who suggested she move in with him. M felt uneasy, thinking he would lose his chance to inherit anything. He explained that Grandma needed chemotherapy regularly and couldn't leave her work. Uncle Cain questioned M's motives, but M insisted he just wanted to help Grandma, not the money. Later at the temple, Grandma wrote a prayer asking for blessings for her children and for M to find a good job. She noticed none of the prayers were for her, which made her sad. After Grandma's chemotherapy caused her hair to fall out, M stayed by her side. One day, Grandma discovered her savings were gone, and the footage revealed that Zion had stolen it. M confronted Zion and told him to stay away from Grandma. M later realized that Grandma had been saving money for him. Motivated by her love, he used the money to buy a burial plot and a house in her memory, fulfilling her final wish.